What prompted you to write a letter to Scott Jarvis?
We were made aware of this mural several years ago. So it's been up for 2 years and 8 months now. And we were recently, a month ago, made aware of the specific contest guidelines that have stated that it should have been removed after 2 years. And since then, we've been working, trying to get in contact with the people at the New York University Student Center and Scott Jarvis, the executive director, to ask.
Okay. Have you heard back from them in any capacity?
We have not heard back yet at this moment.
Okay.
I myself, as president of Hillel York, have made an attempt to contact him, as well as my director that I work with, Anna Bayev, and we have not heard back.
Do you know why that might be? Do you have any idea?
We are unsure. We've made several attempts to contact him, we've been unsuccessful.
Okay. What kind of conversation do you want to have with him?
So we want to make sure to educate him about what we believe that the mural represents. So when looking at the mural, you see a man holding rocks. And in Israel today, rock throwing has been going on for several months, several years. There's been a recent spike. And these are not attacks against military vehicles. These are attacks against civilians, against women, children who are completely innocent. Jewish citizens, Arab Israeli citizens as well.
Okay.
And we believe that these rocks represent a call to violence, and that when they're displayed in the student center, it makes all students feel unsafe. And the York University Student Center is meant to be an inclusive space for all students, and we believe that when there is a call to violence that is so obvious present, it doesn't make all students feel comfortable.
What do you think about the argument about freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and censorship?
I believe that everyone does have the right to freedom of expression, but there's a difference between freedom of expression and calls to violence. I believe in this case it makes students feel uncomfortable and unsafe, and that I don't believe that that should be expressed in this student center, which is a space that is meant to be inclusive for all students.
Okay. President Shukri came to Hillel 2 days ago.
Yes.
How did that make you feel?
So I felt very thankful that he stopped by and we had a chance to address our concerns. So he discussed with us about the mural and about other concerns that we have, and the conversation ended up being over an hour. And we felt thankful to have the opportunity to discuss with him.
Okay. So Ariella Daniels made the comment that there's so much anti-Israel rhetoric on campus that a mural like this becomes normalized. That doesn't seem to be any big deal at all. Maybe you can elaborate on that somewhat, talking about your experience here at York.
So as president of Hillel York, I'm representing a large part of the student population. The Jewish population is a large part of the students, and calls to violence such as these have made students feel very uncomfortable and unsafe. We feel not included, not like a valued member of this campus community because of certain rhetoric that goes on on this campus.
What do you think would be a good strategy for you to combat that type of rhetoric to get your voice heard?
So, for example, requests for meetings with Scott Jarvis and the York University Student Center would have been a great opportunity for us to approach members who are working to ensure that this university is a safe space for all students, and the fact that we haven't heard back makes, we don't know how to respond to that. We don't understand why someone who is meant to represent all students isn't giving us the opportunity to express our concerns.
That's interesting. When coming to university, I always I thought there would be debates. I haven't ever seen a debate on campus. Why is that? Especially with an issue like Israel-Palestine, why can't people get up on a podium and respectfully argue academically? That's okay.
Wait a second. There have been attempts at creating dialogue within the student community, and it hasn't been so successful in the past. We find that when people are... I'm trying to think how to frame this, sorry.
I was told that it ended up like in a shouting match before.
What you mentioned was a Why You Divest protest that had gone on first semester. And it was meant to be a silent protest in Very Hall. And a few students had gone down to watch, and we instructed all our students to not interrupt, to stand on the sidelines and just watch. And ended up not being a silent protest. There ended up being a lot of yelling, a lot of kind of energy that made students feel very uncomfortable, including myself. And security did come and get involved at the end.
Okay. It's not really an example of a debate, is it? No. What would it take to actually get two sides together and get a representative to argue points so both communities and the York community can see what's going on here without getting one side, getting both sides, seeing the argument, on the table, all the facts? What needs to happen for that to take place?
That's something that I would, of course, want to see. I want to make sure that this is a safe space, this campus is a safe, inclusive space for all students. And I hope that it's something that can happen in the future, but with the political climate that exists on this campus, I find it to be challenging to possibly look into.
Okay. Is there anything you want to add? You want to leave off with?
So one thing I want to add is that with all that has been going on there's been a lot of concerns also about the money that has been pulled out of the film department. Mm-hmm. And in the end, the donor, he is a private donor, and he does have the right to decide where his money goes. But I believe that in the end, if someone should be held responsible, it should be Scott Jarvis and the York University Student Center. In the end, it is their mandate, their responsibility to ensure that this campus is a safe space for all students and that students are afforded every educational opportunity that is possible. And when Scott Jarvis and the York University Student Center showed that the display of this mural has been placed above the education of the students, I believe that that's the larger problem that needs to be addressed.
Okay. Thanks a lot for coming in.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, I'm recording here. Okay, so I showed you Hillel's open letter to Scott Jarvis. What do you think about that letter?
Well, what I got from the letter is that some of the students on campus are interpreting the painting to depict only violence, and I just don't think that's accurate whatsoever. Every painting can kind of be read by everybody in a different way, of course, so I can't invalidate how they feel. But when I look at it, I see resistance to something that's illegal, that's oppressive. So I get completely, and I know a lot of other students at York get completely different emotions when they see that painting, quite the opposite of what some of the students are reporting and what that letter kind of implies.
So you don't see it as anti-Semitic at all?
No, there's no Jewish imagery in there. What it is could be seen as anti-Israeli, but we're talking about the state of Israel and its apartheid practices. That's what that is resistance to, not to the people of Israel or the people of the Jewish religion. And you know what, that's a common claim that's thrown at Palestinian activists and human rights activists constantly, and I'm tired of it. I'm called an anti-Semite every time I stand up for Palestinian rights, and it couldn't be farther from the truth. This is state-focused anger. It's not at a group of people.
Okay. Yeah, the mural apparently was supposed to be taken down a year ago. It was only supposed to be up for 2 years. Do you think they have a case if the mural was supposed to be up for only 2 years?
No, they're just stretching for technicalities. I mean, has there been another contest to replace the mural? I mean, we have art hanging all over our university that's clearly been there for a long time. And unless there's something to replace it with, or it just seems like they're stretching at straws trying to get it taken down, and it's based on a technicality. But really what you're seeing is a silencing of a Palestinian voice and freedom of expression being curtailed.
Have you ever met Scott Jarvis?
No.
No?
I actually didn't know who he was when you told me about the open letter. I just now know he's associated with the Student Center.
Yeah, he hasn't been talking to anyone. Do you think that he should meet with Hillel at the very least?
No. No, Hillel's raising this issue almost out of nothing. That painting, like you said, has been there for 2 or 3 years. It's only now that we're hearing about this. And so it's not up to the Student Center to kind of placate to the public and to play politics. That's up for us, the YFS and the student body to decide these things amongst ourselves. The President Shukri went to go see him. Amnesty sent him open letters before. We've never had anybody come and speak to us from the administration. So what does that tell you?
Okay. President Shukri came to Hillel the other day and had a long talk with us, and he's concerned about how Jewish students feel on campus. If you had a message to President Shukri, what would it be?
There's a lot of students who don't feel safe on campus, and I think it's time he takes them all seriously. But to react to something like this, I think is just stoking the fire. It's not for the president of the university to decide. That's the Student Center, and it's separate probably for a reason. And I think he should just give equal value to all the clubs and all the groups and the issues that go on. It feels like he picks and chooses where he's going to insert himself. I think the same thing went with e-voting. I mean, we don't really hear from him. He seems to only speak for one side.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to say in regards to the mural?
Yeah, I think as students, as part of the university, it's kind of in our heritage to stand up for human rights and to kind of lead the way. And we can't always be being curtailed by personal attacks. Like, these claims of anti-Semitism have to stop. It doesn't even go towards the issue that we're talking about, and it's hurtful to all of the activists who spend so much hard time trying to fight for what you're talking about is indigenous rights in Palestine. So to fight for those there does not mean it's hateful towards anybody else. And I feel like that's just the constant message, whether it be the mural, whether it be e-voting. The issues can be so far removed from religion, and still the activists are labeled as anti-Semites.
What do you think about the Brofman withdrawal of funding to the film department?
Well, I think when someone gives funds to the creative arts, that they should value creative expression. And by trying to dictate what that creative expression can or can't say, I believe flies in the face of what our arts department is for. And just like we don't want money in our university from weapons companies, we don't want money in our university from people who would serve to silence the oppressed and to curtail freedom of expression.